Okay, and we are live. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to what is probably going to be another autopsy of Manchester United. Let's get into this. First and foremost, the big story tonight is this the end of Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United? Now, look, I by no means think that Ten Hag is going to get sacked within the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't think Jim Ratcliffe walks through the door and sacks Erik Ten Hag, but I do think big changes need to be made, and I do think Erik Ten Hag is finding himself in a position now that is verging on what I would call indefendable. I think some of the decisions we've seen in recent weeks have been really detrimental to his hopes of being Manchester United manager long term. I think some of the calls he is making on a week-to-week basis are nothing short of abysmal, and I think the overall lack of a plan, the overall lack of style, the overall lack of any real identity in this Manchester United team is an absolutely damning statement on Erik Ten Hag and his coaching staff. Now, as we know, these players have thrown many managers under the bus. Erik Ten Hag will not be the first, and if things don't change, he will not be the last, because even if we sack Erik Ten Hag right now and bring somebody else in, whatever flavour of the month is, be it a De Zerbi, be it a Nagelsmann, be it a Flick, be it Xabi Alonso, be it anybody else, I cannot say with any real conviction that that manager is going to be the guy to turn it around. Since 2013, Manchester United have had 6 managers. We have signed over 40 players. There is something fundamentally broke at this club, and it needs to be fixed. And I think it comes from above as well. And look, I'm not trying to put the shambolic performances, the lack of desire, the lack of grit, the lack of fight in this team, the poor tactics, the bad coaching on the Glazer family. But in the last 10 years, they're the only consistency at this club, and that is the only thing that has remained unchecked and unchallenged. And as soon as Sir Jim Ratcliffe can come in and make any kind of difference, that has to be something that's going to help Manchester United moving forward. And look, we can see this in quotes coming out tonight. I'm going to go through the comments really quickly here. Of course, we're asking on the poll, can Erik Ten Hag come back from this? Because this has been one of the worst, if not the worst start United have made to a season in probably 30 or 40 years. It's genuinely embarrassing at this moment watching this team go out. Absolutely no intensity, absolutely no plan, absolutely no desire on that pitch for many of the players. The manager looks like he has no idea how to fix this. And I'm asking, what has gone wrong in the last 6 months? What has gone wrong over this summer transfer window that we find ourselves in this position once again? That's what I'm asking. And look, look, I'm going to put it out here right now as well, because I was thinking about what I was going to say. I was maybe going to go through some of the news, looking at some of the options we can do, but I feel like we got some stuff to get off our chest. I feel like we need a group therapy session as well, so feel free to get any comments in down below. Vent, rant, I don't care, get those in, and we're going to go through it all tonight. Daz is saying the poor use of subs, bad results this season is a disaster already. I think it's beginning of the end, and these players would even throw Pep under the bus. That's my big thing. Erik Ten Hag is relying on a bunch of quitters, on a bunch of players who routinely, year after year, have thrown manager after manager under the bus, and thinks that he might be, in any way, shape, or form, something different, that he might not share the same fate. I really don't know. I just don't know. Big T says, I've seen nothing to suggest things will get better, and there's massive potential for things to get worse. Jeremy says, saving my criticism for Ten Hag until Sancho's out and the squad is close to full fitness. Look, that's not helping him either, but probably some of that is also down to Erik Ten Hag as well. That's been confirmed. We see the difference in approach at Man City. They do light training and they do a lot of tactical work whenever they have 3 matches a week. We seem to do hard running and hard training constantly, and I just don't think that's the answer either. Jarl is down there. Ten Hag has done a stupid statement. He has no vision on how he wants the club to play. He said the players chooses how to play. That's like writing your resignation. We have no system. Jinwa says, will someone explain to me what is the leak? Who's talking about player system now? He needs to play and get back to the point to see if his job. Absolutely, that's what he has to do. And I think Erik Ten Hag has to show the character he's shown last year. It was a very difficult start last year. Really difficult. Losing the first 2 matches. Getting smashed at Anfield. Getting smashed at the Etihad. Those were difficult moments for Manchester United, and we bounced back. Where is that this season? That's something he absolutely needs to do. Last year he binned off Cristiano Ronaldo. Some people will call Ronaldo the best player to ever play the game. He came in, he dropped Harry Maguire, the club captain, after 2 or 3 matches, and ultimately took the captain's armband off him. He threw Rashford out of the team in the best form of Rashford's life. He dropped him for being a minute late to a meeting. We took Garnacho out of the team over pre-season last year because he wasn't working hard enough. There was issues with the attitude. Where is that now? I think he's got to take a cold hard look at it and look and realize that a lot of these players are just doing the same exact cycle over and over again. And ultimately, Erik Ten Hag will be the man who will pay the price, because Marcus Rashford, for instance, has played now under Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Ralf Rangnick, and Erik Ten Hag. He is one of those players who has survived so many managers, and arguably could have been took out of the team a long time ago, and arguably should have been. Victor Lindelof, another player, has been here since Jose Mourinho. If his name was Harry Maguire, he would be absolutely ridiculed. But Lindelof seems to have some sort of an ability to escape criticism as well. Diogo Dalot, a player who signed from Porto at 18, was meant to be the next big thing at right back, has not improved in 5 years at Manchester United. And I could go on and on and on. Bruno Fernandes, the talisman of this club, the club captain, is now just a petulant child throwing his toys out of the pram. Casemiro looks so far off the pace that he'll never ever get back to it. How have we spent £1 billion in the last 10 years, and we're lining up against Man City with Lindelof at left back, Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans? These are questions that need to be asked and questions that need to be answered. Fundamentally, this club is broken from the inside out, and it's a long, long way back for this team. It really is. Let me see. Le Man is saying, doesn't matter, we need to keep changing managers till we get the right person who will not favour the seniors and give equal opportunities to all. I think that's a fair statement, but no manager has done that either. And that's a big problem. That is a massive concern. Whilst these players did well last year, Erik Ten Hag has to turn his back on them. What has Rashford done to start every match, to be undroppable? Absolutely nothing this season. Absolutely nothing. 6 months, he has barely put a 7 out of 10 performance in. Anthony, a player signed for what, 100 million? 18 million pounds, 100 million euros? He has 1 foot and he can't even use that. He's a one-trick pony, and that trick does not work either. So many players as well. Casemiro signed for 70 million pounds. Looks like he's done. Raphael Varane, meant to be the linchpin of that backline. And don't get me wrong, this is no slide on Raphael Varane's quality as a player, but that man cannot be relied upon. And it goes deeper. Harry Maguire, a player who probably would have been thrown out and would be gone at any other club, is now one of the players, the few players, putting passable performances in on a weekly basis. Like, the mentality of Maguire, it has to be commended. To be fair, even if we don't like him as a player, even if we don't think he's good enough, he is turning up. And look, I've been saying this for a long time. Passion, professionalism, good attitude, hard work. Is this outstanding qualities? No, this should be absolutely expected of every player at that football club. Yesterday was a big match. It was big for many reasons. A massive match against City, coming to Old Trafford. We had to show up, and we didn't. We were trying to honour the legacy of Sir Bobby Charlton. We didn't do that. And ultimately, Erik Ten Hag will be the man to pay the price for these bad performances. And look, I'm not excusing the guy. I think genuinely massive questions have to be asked. And if he is going to turn things around, he's got to turn it around whilst the club is in free fall, whilst there is so much uncertainty around the club, whilst there's a mountain in front of him blocking his path. Is he the guy to do it? We're going to find out. But he's got to make some big decisions. He absolutely has. He's got to look at the likes of Marcus Rashford. He's got to look at Bruno Fernandes. He's got to look at Anthony. He's got to look at Lindelof. Players like that who have not been performing this season whatsoever, and he needs to have the genuine backbone to drop these players. If we were not playing these players, if we went out and picked on form and said Rashford's not playing good enough, Bruno's not playing good enough, Varane's injured, let's not play him, Dalot isn't good enough, Anthony shouldn't be on the pitch. If we went out and picked Garnacho and Pellistri and Mount or Manu, whoever, and we went out and picked those players and we got beat yesterday, at least we can say the managers had enough. At least we could say that. But we genuinely seem to be doing the same thing every single match and expecting a different result, a different performance. I don't think these players can play through this bad form. And I don't think they've any intention. I don't think they've got the mentality needed to do that. I think they are a bunch of players, fair weather players we call them. They turn up, they work hard, they play well, they score goals, they win matches when things are going well. As soon as anything goes wrong, at the slightest hint of adversity, the heads drop. They have no interest. They look like they would rather be anywhere else in the world. There's not one player out on that pitch who I would genuinely say has the Manchester United mentality. They really do not. And for me, it's just completely inexcusable. Managers got to do better. Those players should not be at this club any longer. And there's loads of comments I want to go through as well. Let me have a quick shout out for you guys. Greg in the comments: I drove 5 hours one way to get to Old Trafford for that pile of rubbish yesterday. I'm fuming. Only Højlund, and believe it or not, Maguire wanted to try. Rashford, an absolute waste of time. Liman says Ten Hag should be asked why he's subbing Højlund and not Rashford. And the whole Old Trafford boos his decisions. Rashford should be transfer listed. He does not work, says Jarl. Jinwei is saying as well he's playing with the system and dropping points because they are not good enough to do so. He doesn't want to do so, but doesn't allow them to do that. Ten Hag has put himself under pressure, says Daz. Sniper Patch is saying as well, club is rotten top to bottom. Owners who use it as a cash cow. Players on huge salaries. You have no passion or desire. For example, Rashford cannot make, and a manager he cannot make tactical decisions. Yinma is saying, ever slagging Rashford off. I'm not agreeing with them. We can see Rashford change from last season. Last season he had Weghorst to service him. His position this season is to service Højlund. Yeah, I would agree with that. Jeremy said, I was jealous watching Newcastle embarrass PSG. Get the Mesbries and the Goers and the Garnachos on. At least we can fight for the shirt. Ten Hag has said he will never see his style of play. And for me, to say to sack him is the exact same thing as the players. It's trying not to, says Daz as well. Jinma is saying, and Rashford in his hesitations when to make a pass or a shot, he needs to shoot and pass the ball. And Liman says Ten Hag interview shows exactly he has lost it. Yeah, look, loads of comments in there. It's good to see everybody jumping into the comments as well, getting your thoughts in. I really can't disagree with you. I think if Erik Ten Hag at least put the likes of Dangoor, Kobe Minu, Mesbri, players like that on, Garnacho, who would at least fight for the shirt, we would probably have more sympathy. We really would. But he's playing the same players every single match. Last year, he set an example that you have to be on the one side, that you have to be working as a team, that you have to be pulling your weight, otherwise you're going to be gone. And if you're a negative influence, you will be gone. This season, it seems to be if you turn up and put in a bad shift, you just get picked for the next match. Doesn't matter if you're Marcus Rashford or Victor Lindelof or Diogo Dalot or Scott McTominay. These are players who should not be on Manchester United's team. Look, there's some interesting stuff coming in from United stand tonight. They have an interesting stuff, and some of it's very concerning. According to them, Erik Ten Hag looks shot. He is the exact same as Ollie was towards the end of his reign. According to that same interview as well, the whole place is crazy at the moment. There's uncertainty everywhere. The boardroom, the coaching staff and players know if they'll be here next season, Erik Ten Hag included. The sooner Sir Jim comes in and has at least 1% of control, it will be a godsend to the club. I mean, I really can't deny that either. I know a lot of us have had our doubts about Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but it genuinely seems like the only way this football club can have any kind of redemption, any kind of comeback. And that might not be popular to people who wanted Qatari ownership, but the reality is that that's just not going to happen. So we need Sir Jim, and we need Sir Jim to make this work, and we need Sir Jim Ratcliffe to be able to pull things off. And he is already planning to make big changes, and some of it's really interesting. I want to go through this. This is coming in from Muppeteers, who have been so reliable in recent years as well. So Sir Jim Ratcliffe has no plans to sack Erik Ten Hag, but United boss will lose transfer power. That is one of the big calls. Sir Jim Ratcliffe still has faith in Erik Ten Hag, but the head coach is likely to have his responsibilities reduced. A deep audit of the club's football operations is in the pipeline, and when the investment is confirmed, it will include putting player recruitment into the hand of experts and leaving coaching matters to the coaches. I mean, Erik Ten Hag is probably living and dying by some of these players he has signed as well. The likes of Anthony, the likes of Casemiro, the likes of Christian Eriksen as well, we could probably put in there. The Malacias, the Onanas of this world, the Mason Mounts. We signed Mount for 50 million in the summer, give him the number 7 shirt, and the guy is not playing. That has to be a big concern for Manchester United. Now look, apparently there's no issue between Mount and Erik Ten Hag, but I think we've got big calls to make on this. We really do. Let me see, more comments were coming in here down below as well. Jeremy says, I'm jealous. Oh, I've seen that one. I've seen Le Mans. Sorry, we got Chatsport and we got Rajat in the comments as well. Look, here's what we're going to do, guys. I wanted to do this as well. I was going to do a video, but we'll do it live and direct. We'll do our own audit, and this is of the players. And this is going to be ruthless. And this is genuinely who I think should be kept at this club and who should be let go. Because, man, the bus out of Old Trafford is going to be a full one. It really is. Goalkeepers, I'm not too bothered about. I think Onana probably saved us from a bigger embarrassment yesterday. Defenders is where we're going to start going in. Victor Lindelof. If Harry Maguire made half the mistakes that Victor Lindelof does on a weekly basis, he would be chastised and hounded down. So Lindelof's got to go. Maguire probably has to go as well. Lisandro Martinez I'll keep. Malacia is going to go. Sergio Reguilon hasn't really shown much. Varane, question marks over his long-term fitness. If he's going to accept being a squad player, yeah, then okay, but we can't rely on him. Delo has not improved in 5 years. He can go. Luke Shaw is probably escaping a lot of criticism just because he's injured. Wan-Bissaka, question marks if he'll ever be good enough. Johnny Evans, definitely past his best. Midfielders, Bruno Fernandes, the big one. I'm genuinely thinking that Bruno is not going to have a long-term future at this club, because when he came in, things were absolutely brilliant in it. Bruno was a revelation in that team under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What we've seen since in this season and last season as well, and the season before that, he just hasn't been up to his usual standard. Big question marks there. Christian Eriksen, yeah, look, a squad player, absolutely fine. Casemiro can go. Facundo Pellistri, loan maybe. Van de Beek can go. Scott McTominay out the door as soon as possible. Forward line, it's going to get gutted as well. Martial, gone. Marcus Rashford, gone. Anthony, gone. Sancho, gone. Half of these guys are an absolute waste of space to have at this football club, and it's genuinely not good enough. We really do need to clear the decks, rip up that squad. Rajat says, Van Gaal, Jose, Moyes and Ole, now Ten Hag, are about to meet the same fate. Yeah, look, I will say this here, it is the poison chalice, and I really don't think with this group of players, with this board, with the way this football club is run, I don't think any manager is going to be successful. But that also means that Ten Hag does not get a get-out-of-free jail card. He absolutely should be held to account, and he absolutely should go if results are not going to improve, if he keeps making these bad tactical decisions, if he keeps finding himself picking Marcus Rashford when he's offering nothing to this team, if he keeps picking Bruno Fernandes, who is throwing about, if he keeps picking Anthony, who comes on and the biggest thing he does in a Manchester derby is to kick another player, then yeah, Erik Ten Hag is going to have to face some music as well. Nobody should be exempt from bad performances. They really shouldn't. Let me see. Rajat said we give the coaches the tools to fall instead of to succeed. Absolutely agree with that as well. Sadiq says, I don't trust Sir Jim's ability to change the current situation at Old Trafford. Yeah, look, I mean, questions are going to be asked about that, but at the minute, I don't see any other alternative than for Sir Jim to make the changes. Like, I really do not see any other way. And as much as we wanted full takeover, as much as we wanted Glazer family gone, the truth of the situation is we find ourselves in the position now where we have to have Sir Jim Ratcliffe come in and succeed. That is the only thing that's going to save this football club at this point, is a complete top to bottom remodeling. And everything in this football club is falling apart. It's embarrassing. If you go back literally and you watch Gary Neville doing his overlap podcast after yesterday's match, he gets rained on in Old Trafford from a hole in the roof. I mean, the fall of the stadium is as symptomatic as the fall of this football team. It really is. It's embarrassing. It is. Let me see. Greg is saying Rashford is bang out of form, and people make a point that he's in for his goal threat, but the lack of goals and the chances missed on Sunday proves Ten Hag needs a different option. Absolutely he does. Stephanie, it's good to see you in the comments. We're up to 24 likes as well. Thank you very much for that. I see everyone's enjoying the group therapy session, so to speak. Let me see. Rashad says United needs Ignacio Tabedo, Frimpong, type 1 or 2 midfielders, a top centre forward. I think we can add wide players on that as well, honestly. Daz says that's the whole squad and I'm all for it. Rajat says winning is the only way here. And Jeremy says any chance this club is dumb enough to have a guaranteed game in these players' contracts. I would not be surprised, Jeremy. I really wouldn't either. But yeah, just to go back to what Daz was saying as well there, look, it might be half the squad. It might be more than that. But genuinely, out of this I'll go through this again. This is people who I think we should keep. Hoyland and Garnacho from the forward line. The rest are waste of space. Kobbie Mainoo I'll keep. Hannibal I'll keep. Amad Diallo I'll keep. Christian Eriksen as a squad player, yes. Mason Mount, because I don't think we've seen the best of him, and he needs an opportunity to at least play matches. Sofian Amrabat I would keep as well. Wan-Bissaka, question marks. Johnny Evans clearly past his best. Varane can't be relied upon to play. Luke Shaw exempt from criticism because he's been injured all season. Reguilon, I mean, yeah, look, I don't really care too much about him. Lissandro Martinez, and look, I would keep Onana as well, because I think at least in Onana, at least the way he conducts himself on and off the pitch, we can see a player who genuinely cares. And he comes out after making mistakes and he publicly apologises. You would never get that from any other Manchester United player. You would never get that. I've had enough of Twitter apologies. I've had enough of Instagram posts. We'll be back. We'll be stronger. We'll learn from this, because we never, ever do. And clearly Erik Ten Hag has fallen into that trap as well. He absolutely has. He really has. Of trusting these same players. I remember very clearly, because around about 4 or 5 years ago, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was just about to be given the permanent manager job. It was right after his interim caretaker manager role, and we'd just beat PSG. And the first thing that Roy Keane said on Super Sunday, I think it was, he said, these same group of players have thrown Jose Mourinho and Louis van Gaal under the bus. Make no mistake, they will do the exact same to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer if given an opportunity. And Roy Keane was right 5 years ago, and 5 years later, we are about to see, or we are in the process of seeing, yet another manager thrown under the bus. I think one of the big things saving Erik Ten Hag at this moment in time is that uncertainty at boardroom. I don't think the Glazer family would take that decision from Sir Jim Ratcliffe. If he's being given sporting control, I don't think they really can do that. I would also say Sir Jim will want to come in and give Ten Hag an opportunity to prove himself under a proper structure as well. But I think all things considered, manager and players alike are very much culpable for what goes on that pitch. It's not the Glazer family taking training. It is not Richard Arnold setting up the team. It is not Richard Arnold and John Murda saying, yeah, we're going to play Victor Lindelof at left back instead of a genuine left back in Reguilon. We're going to play Johnny Evans ahead of Varane. That is Erik Ten Hag and his coaching staff. So yeah, they've got to pick up those lessons and they've got to improve themselves quick. Absolutely. Let me see what I've got down below. Chat Sports saying United are a franchise. As long as United stay in the Prem, they will still make huge profits no matter how poor they are on the pitch. Absolutely. Rajat says play Hannibal, Dan Gore. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You would have players there that want to play for the team and would actually care. And I will say one thing about Tottenham Hotspur this season. Tottenham Hotspur might not have spent a lot of money. Tottenham Hotspur might not have the best players in the league, but that team works hard and that team works for each other. There's no egos on that pitch. They work as one, and look where they find themselves. We cannot do that at Manchester United. We just cannot. And that's such a disappointment, because I like Erik Ten Hag. I think there is a good manager there. I think there's a guy who, if given the right tools, could make us a good team again. We've seen enough of it last season. He hasn't suddenly become a bad manager in 3 months. That's just not happened. But something else has. And I don't know what it is. I feel like the rot has seeped in to the dressing room again. It's seeped into the playing staff. It's seeped into the coaching staff. It's genuinely happening time and time again. And this has happened to Moyes. It's happened to Van Gaal, to Mourinho, to Ole, to Rangnick, and now Ten Hag. We are on our 6th manager in 10 years. We have signed over 40 players in 10 years. The only real consistency is coming from above. That is the only thing that's long-term at this football club. And that is a massive, massive slight against the board and against the likes of the Glazer family. Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Our recruitment has been genuinely awful. I could name on one hand the number of players we've signed in the last 10 years who I would genuinely say have been worth it or have been a success at Manchester United. And that's out of 40 players. I mean, comparably so, if we actually look at it, on paper, Manchester United have spent a similar amount of money in these 10 years as opposed to Man City. And we looked yesterday like a League One or a League Two team playing Man City. Like, it's genuinely embarrassing. It really is pathetic. It genuinely is. And if there was any kind of meritocracy, if there was any type of, if profits were related to how well you performed on the pitch, then genuinely Manchester United would be in a much better position, because then the owners and the board would care. Like, that's the top and bottom of it, in my opinion. Let me see. Le Mans looking Ten Hag out and Stephanie in. Jinma says, if it wasn't injury, where would we be right now? That's a hard question to answer, because I think as a team we're so reliant on Lisandro Martinez and Luke Shaw as our build-up players, as the players who move the ball up the pitch. The team fundamentally does not work without those two players. And that, for me, is one of the big reasons behind the failure so far this season. Let me see. Jinma is down there as well, saying that. Rajat says, no competent club ever gets ex-players back. Greg says, going up to the game live showed how much of a mess the club is in. Haaland even celebrated scoring the penalty in front of the Stretford end with no character. No, we don't. I mean, in the tunnel, we allowed Man City to hang City flags up for their players. Like, the decision making at this club is farcical. It's genuinely disgraceful as well. Chrissy is down there. We have to drop to the championship to get rid of the Glazers. And Rashad is saying, no mentality to deserve your bets. Have one good year, get a huge bonus, and then you've made it here. No sense. Absolutely. Stephanie says, we've seen a WhatsApp message with Ten Hag dressed as police speak on, saying, be careful if you're driving past Old Trafford. They're handing out 3 points to everyone. I mean, we might as well. I think we've lost half of the matches this season. Jeremy says, we're a Walmart version of PSG. Ego-dominated team has been exposed in a much tougher league. Daz says it's disgusting. Cressy says, why wasn't there a protest yesterday? And Rashad says, Pep said something that everyone at City is on the same page, unlike at United. Yeah, look, I want to go through what Pep Guardiola said, because I think Pep maybe hit it all in a nutshell as well. Pep said, when asked about Manchester United's problems, he says he cannot speak about another club because he's not involved. One thing he can say, one thing Pep could say yesterday was that genuinely the owners, the chairman, the directors, the CEOs, the sporting directors, everybody involved at Man City is pulling in one way. And I reckon, comparatively speaking, this is probably one of the easiest jobs Pep Guardiola has ever had. And out of the £1 billion they've spent in the last 10 years, how many players have genuinely been flops? I reckon they've had as many flops in 10 years as what we have had good signings in 10 years. And that, for me, I mean, there's really not much else we really can say. I don't know. I really don't know what the concern is. And look, when we have managers saying, when asking about playing the style of football that you were hired to bring, that style of football that made you who you are, Ten Hag was asked, when will you be able to play the same football with Manchester United like you showed at Ajax? He says, never. We will never play that football because those were different players. This is also not why I came here. We were playing different football than I showed at Ajax because I have to. I cannot play the same way. The players decide how you play it. Ajax is very typical and characteristic style of player. With Manchester United, will always be different football. I did so last year. We play much more direct football because I have the players here for that. That's a massive concern. You would not be seeing Pep Guardiola ditching his style of football to fit in at Manchester City. You would not be seeing Jurgen Klopp saying these players don't want to play gegenpressing style at Liverpool. We would not be seeing Mikel Arteta do the same at Arsenal. I think Ten Hag's got to... He's got to stiffen up. He's got to say enough is enough. It's my way or the highway. That's genuinely what he has to say from a coaching point of view. Daz is saying it was a dig. Pep is too smug, like all City fans. Yeah, look, but they're smug for a reason. They're smug because they are probably the best team in the world. They won the treble last year by hook or crook. They still did it. And I think Pep's right as well. Like, I genuinely do. I cannot say with any conviction that Richard Arnold and John Murda are going to get us to the top. I cannot say that they're going to bring us and they're all dragging in the one direction. I genuinely cannot say that. Like, I really can't, because our approach has always been, when the going gets tough, we quit. We sack a manager, the players drop their heads, somebody else comes in with a smile on their face, and all of a sudden they want to play football again. All of a sudden they want to do the running work. He also got down below, Jimmo says, yeah, playing the same way as Ajax gets us beat 7-0. Well, that's the opposite of what he was saying. He was saying he can't play that football because of the personnel he's got, but he signed 16 players. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not People might say I'm sitting on the fence, but I think that you can genuinely criticize the players and the manager at the same time without thinking that the manager is the problem and that the manager has to go. I don't think he should be exempt from criticism. Let me see. Rajat says Ten Hag to build his style. That says imagine Pep's playing long ball as Stoke. Yeah, absolutely. Maestro says feels like Ten Hag wants out. Chrissy says a manager to grow some balls as well. Stephanie saying Ten Hag has inherited the invisible posture players he has had. Is that a quote from Erik Ten Hag? If true, he needs to go, says Jeremy. Yep, that was what he said yesterday. Damning statements, absolutely damning statements as well. Some people are saying Ten Hag's playing to get sacked. I don't think it's a case of that, but I genuinely think that I don't know if it's stubbornness. I feel like, do you know what it's like? It's like the first few matches of the season didn't go well, and things started to fall apart, and the players dropped their heads. And Erik Ten Hag seems to have abandoned his principles of play in order to try save his job. And in doing that, he is also basically pushing himself closer towards that exit door because he's not he's not showing anything as well. I think it's interesting. I think Jim Ratcliffe's got a big call to make. At the minute, it looks to be Erik Ten Hag will be kept on, and we've seen this time after time where owners come in, and when the ownership changes, you will see a change in manager. They'll want to bring their own person in. That happens a lot. We've seen it at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel, that team was playing well. They had 2 or 3 bad results at the start of last season, and Todd Bowley sacked them. It's not that I think they're going to go gung-ho at it. I think that Ten Hag will be given more time, mostly because there's a lack of options. There really is a lack of genuine top-quality coaches out there who are attainable, and I think a lot of people are going to look at this. A lot of coaches are going to say, who has done anything after Manchester United? Because if this goes wrong, who has done anything? What Louis van Gaal ended up walking into the Dutch job, but that's it. They rotate their managers on and off anyway. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is writing articles for The Athletic. Jose Mourinho went to Spurs, got sacked, went to Roma, and is falling out with the players again. He hasn't done anything. Ralf Rangnick is the Austrian national team manager. You're a top manager. If you're an up-and-coming manager like a De Zerbi or someone, you're going to look at this and say, why would I want this? If I go there, I'm going to be set up to fail. That's what they're going to say. Drop a like on the video as well, guys. We're up to 24 likes. Can we hit 30? Let me see. Rajat said he scrapped the possession style after 1 or 2 matches. Big T says second half was not acceptable in any game, never mind a derby. If it's broke, fix it. You can't fix it, regardless of reason. Go. I mean, yeah, look, it's hard. It's hard to defend that as well. What I will say is, and I absolutely stand by this statement, and I'm not trying to put a blind defense up of Erik Ten Hag, because I just don't think that's the right thing to do in this situation, is consider this. Louis van Gaal came in with one of the best resumes in footballing history, a man who genuinely brought upon and improved upon the tactics and the belief in football of Johan Cruyff, the man who made Ajax Champions League winners, a man who had done everything in football and succeeded at Barcelona, succeeded, well, as a lesser extent, succeeded at Bayern Munich as well, to a greater extent. And Louis van Gaal came in and could not change things at this club. He said it was an impossible job to manage. Jose Mourinho came in, could not implement a style of play, could not get anything out of this team after his second season. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in and after 6 months was accused of having no playing style, and we couldn't get a consistent style in. I think these players are just genuinely in the position where they think that regardless of what happens, if a manager gets sacked, they won't be. And I think that's created an absolute toxic environment of entitled players who genuinely think they will get away with it time and time again. And we need Jim Ratcliffe. We need Sir Jim to come in, and we actually need him to make a difference. And look, whether we wanted Ratcliffe in the first place, I will be the first person to hold my hand up and say the whole way through this takeover process, I was not for the Ratcliffe ownership, because he was going to keep the Glazer family on. There's a lot of problems with that, and ultimately, I still have massive issues with the way he's taking over this football club. I do, and I will always have those issues, but we need Jim to succeed, and we need Sir Jim to come in audit this club, take as much power away from those players as possible, make a genuinely case that it's going to be everybody pulling the one way or you're gone. Nobody stays based on their name, on their reputation. The manager should not be bringing in his own players time and time again, because that's not working either. Clearly that is not working. We always say give power to the manager, but Pep Guardiola at City has to work with the sporting structure, and the sporting structure have the ultimate say on their transfer affairs as well. They actually have control over what Pep Guardiola is bringing into that team, and if anybody in football has earned that right to be able to just be given a blank checkbook and to turn around and buy whoever he wants, it's probably Pep Guardiola, but he does not have that power either. So that is something that absolutely needs to change at Man United. It really is. Let me see. Who have we got down below? Ten Hag throwing players under the bus, possibly. I feel like it's going both ways, Stephanie. I feel like it's maybe a response to him being thrown under the bus for the performances. I think we'll see a lot of Ralph Rangnick revisionism. Make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about that. We will see Ralph Rangnick revisionism because people will be bringing up the quotes. Open heart surgery, 10 players. These are the most obvious things to any Manchester United fan. I feel like we're going to see the revisionism put out into the media. We'll probably also see people saying it was better under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Maybe at times it was. But every season, Ole had a spell where it looked like he was going to get sacked as well. I think genuinely we can, I think as fans, we need to direct our energy as much to the players as much as we are towards the manager and the club as a whole, because these players just genuinely get away with it every single time, and it just cannot go on any longer. Let me see who we got down below. Daz is saying, I don't know where we go after Ten Hag, and we certainly don't have any pull now. Big T says any manager coming in has a demand in his contract that he picks the team's best of player form regardless of what the wages is. Removing Ten Hag does nothing, but removing Glazer solves everything. Adam says, don't talk silly. The Glazers don't keep picking Rashford and Bruno and playing Lindelof at left back. No, they don't. I'd actually, at the start of the stream, I had said that for about 20 minutes straight as well, about the tactics of Erik Ten Hag and what he's doing wrong, because a lot of it is wrong. And yeah, I mean, Erik Ten Hag cannot get his style of play across. There is no style of play after 18 months in the job, after 16 players. He has to do better. He has to stop picking Bruno Fernandes because he's shown good form in the past. He has to stop picking Marcus Rashford because he scored goals last season. You cannot rely on these players because they have let down other managers in the past, and they're letting him down now. Have some backbone, drop those big names, drop those big egos, and if you put on players who are going to go on and going to at least fight for the club, fight for the shirt, then at least people will be more on board with what you're doing as a manager. Absolutely. And the things he's coming out with are damning statements. If he's saying he cannot get his style of play over after signing 16 players, then that's an Erik Ten Hag problem as much as it is a Manchester United players problem as well. The guy is not immune from criticism. He is not exempt from having any blame put on him, and neither should he be. Absolutely, he should not be under any circumstance. He has to do better. Is he going to be able to turn this around? I don't think so. And the reason I don't think he can turn it around, even though he might have the resources at hand, arguably, with Ratcliffe coming in, is simply because I don't back these players to take him out of the trench. I don't back these players to fight when it actually counts. They are fair-weathered players. When things are going well, they're all smiles, they're all happy, they're putting the effort in, they're scoring the goals, so they're the ones turning up every single week. But as soon as anything goes wrong, it's heads down, blame the manager, don't run on the pitch, make stupid decisions, give the ball away, lose concentration, be more worried about where you're going to go on holiday over the next international break than actually playing Manchester City in the Manchester Derby. And it's not just a City match. It has been so many times this season already. Against Arsenal, against Wolves, we were shocking. Against Tottenham, against even the matches we've won, Copenhagen, poor performance. Sheffield United, probably the worst team in Premier League history, will go down with 10 points maximum. They played us off the pitch for most of that match. There's no guts, there's no fire in those players, and Erik Ten Hag needs to realise that, have the same backbone you had when you got rid of Cristiano Ronaldo last season and drop them. That's what you have to do, because you cannot play them out of form. When something is broke, you have to fix it. You don't just do the same thing over and over again expecting different results, because it's not going to happen. It's not a confidence thing. It's they genuinely do not want to play for you, and that's what he has to realise. And that's what he has to do, in my opinion, absolutely. Let me see down below. Big T says Ratcliffe investing on the in the pitch side of things. He'll want them proven fast. Won't give Ten Hag 2 to 3 years. He will be changed. Might as well do it now. Big T says we're happy with the idea of Jim before Qatar was linked. Rajat says don't understand receiving PR media and out of form players. Leslie Daz is saying we thought we 100% owned the club. Ten Hag has brought some of his old players and he still can't get his style of play across. That's shocking to think about, says Adam. Big T says Bruno has to be stripped of the captaincy immediately. Absolute disgrace. I mean, I think there's decisions to be made with Bruno Fernandes. He will be pushing 30. Is he a long-term viable player? I don't think so. Chrissy says give Shaw the captaincy, and Adam says Ten Hag have full control over transfers. Nominally, yes. On paper, no, he shouldn't, because Richard Arnold and John Murda are meant to work there, but they have absolutely no idea how to run a football club either. They are two of the most incapable and incompetent directors of football and CEOs we have, and the sooner they're gone, the better. And Arnold is expected to go when Ratcliffe comes in, going to bring his own person in. I would get John Murda out the door as well. They can share a taxi and bring Paul Mitchell in, and at least then you have genuine people in control who know what they're doing. And you take that power off Erik Ten Hag. You give it to someone who knows what they're going to do. You have expert-based footballing opinion. You use the opinion of scouts. You use the opinion of experts in that field. Let the manager tell you what positions he wants. You get players that are going to fix those positions long-term, and then you go out and then you get those players. That's what you do. They do that at City. They do it at Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp, Pep Guardiola do not just have full control over transfers. And the fact that a club this size would give that to Ten Hag is genuinely damning as well. I genuinely think that we are finding ourselves a victim of the Sir Alex Ferguson era, where Sir Alex basically overseen everything at the club. He was, for all extensive purposes, director of football, the sporting director, head of academy, head of the first team coach, the manager, the face of the club. I genuinely think that we expect Ten Hag to step into that role. He's never going to do that either. Let me see what's down below. Jim would 100% own the club immediately if the Glazers wanted to, but they don't and never did. I hate the Glazers. Not going, but we'll get them out eventually. Better than never, absolutely. Stephanie says just Glasgow with 15 points, but 3 of those were against promoted teams. Is Paul Mitchell any good, says Chrissy? Yeah, Paul Mitchell is good. He has a proven track record. He developed that really good team Southampton had 7 or 8 years ago with Van Dijk and Tadic and Mane, Graziano Pelle, Gabbiadini, players like that brought in to Southampton on a very low budget. And then he went to Spurs, brought the likes of Son in, brought the likes of I think maybe Lloris was before that, but the likes of Toby Alderweireld in, players like that were brought to Spurs. Then he went to Leipzig, brought in the likes of Dani Olmo to Leipzig and Kunku, players like that. Then he went to Monaco, and Monaco are a pretty good team as well now, and a very young team at that. So I think he comes with experience, he comes with a pedigree and a proven back record of being able to do that. Is he going to do a better job than John Murda? Yeah, absolutely. I think pretty much everyone in this chat would do. But I think fundamentally things are broken at this club. I think even if we manage to sack Ten Hag, I can't say with any real certainty that a Nagelsmann or a De Zerbi or Pep Guardiola himself would solve the issues at this club. I don't think they get it out of those players because they have no interest in doing it. So until we have someone there who's going to gut those players out, throw them out of Manchester United, I think we're always going to be stuck in the same cycle. And that's why I think this Ratcliffe thing has to work. It absolutely has to work. Whether we want Ratcliffe or not, whether we want his ownership style, whether we want the Glazer family still being here, yeah, absolutely we don't. No, we don't. Not a single fan wants that. But if this is going to be the only way to get us back on track, back to where we need to be as a club, then that's what's got to happen. Let me see. Stephanie saying, seeing Stephanie's, Adam saying we don't know what our style of play yet. How can we buy players that fit that style? Chrissy said he's working on a budget too, going by what you said. Paul Mitchell. Yeah, Paul Mitchell can. If you give Paul Mitchell 150 million, he would get some really good players in. Adam, you're absolutely right about style of play. And the thing is, the style of play, that's not really down as much to the players that we actually have as well, as much as it is the coaching staff. It's their job to set the team up in that way and get that out of those players. They've signed enough players to be able to do it. And they have players who are available and fit right now who should be on the pitch, who would give a much better style of play, closer to what we want from the manager and closer to what the manager actually brings than what he's using. If you took Scott McTominay out of that team and put Mason Mount in, took Bruno out and put Kobbie Mainoo or Christian Eriksen in, took Rashford out for Garnacho, took Antony out and put Pellistri or Amad Diallo when he's back, you'd probably get a better level of performance. Put Hannibal in there. Put a left back in instead of Victor Lindelof at left back. You get a much closer representation to what we want to see as well. So those are things that are within Erik Ten Hag's control. He cannot control Lisandro Martinez's injury. He cannot control Luke Shaw being injured. He cannot control Varane never being available for more than 2 to 3 matches at a time. He cannot control those things. But with the personnel he has, he should be doing a lot better. He really, really should be. Big T says we should not buy players to suit any manager. We should sign players to suit the badge and have a manager who also understands and implement the United way. I don't think there really is a United way either, man. I think the United way has kind of been something that's been blown out of proportion a lot in recent years. We think about Sir Alex Ferguson counter-attacking teams, 4-4-2s, but he played 4-3-3 a lot. He played possession-based quite a lot. He went long sometimes. He adapted to the players he had at the club, and I think that's something as well Ten Hag has to be doing better at. I don't think we always played great football under Sir Alex Ferguson. I know we won everything so many times, and maybe we're being punished for that success now, but Sir Alex football sometimes was pragmatic, and sometimes it wasn't pretty, and sometimes we wouldn't put in a good shift, but we would always fight for the badge. We would always have that desire within the team. We would always have players ready to fight, and scrap for everything. That was never questioned under Ferguson. Sometimes it wasn't the most exciting football. Sometimes it was, but sometimes it wasn't. Sometimes we made things a lot harder than what they had to be on the pitch. Sometimes we made things a lot more difficult for ourselves, and sometimes we lost matches where we absolutely should have won, and sometimes we even got rolled over. City took 6 past us at Old Trafford under Sir Alex Ferguson. But one thing we always said, the players bounce back, and there was always that fear. If a player wasn't doing well, they would be dropped. I mean, Ferguson got rid of Jaap Stam after 2 seasons when he was the best defender in the Premier League. He got rid of David Beckham. Manchester United are scared to drop Scott McTominay and Marcus Rashford at the minute. Bruno Fernandes. I mean, Ferguson would not think twice about dropping those players with the way they've been performing, with dropping the heads. Absolutely not. So Erik Ten Hag has to have some spine. He has to have some backbone. We play Newcastle on Wednesday night at Old Trafford. That is a match we could easily lose, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did. But Erik Ten Hag has to make some changes. He has to say Marcus Rashford has not been good enough for 6 months. Bruno Fernandes has been petulant this season. He's more interested in arguing and throwing himself about than he is in actually being a captain and leading the team forward on the pitch and creating opportunities. He has to fix that. He has to say, Victor Lindelof has never been good enough to play for this club. You're out. I'm going to put a genuine left back on. He has to say, yeah, look, Antony, what have you done since being signed for £80 million? It was not your fault you were signed for that much, but you have to show more than what you're doing at the minute. And Antony is another player as well. He absolutely has got to go. Let me see. Stephanie says Mainoo will probably be eased back in Wednesday night, and hopefully we'll see Hannibal feature again. Youth needs to pass away instead of performing poster boys. Yeah, absolutely. It's a club of poster boys who are more interested in the social media clicks. United are more interested in saying, yeah, look how good of a person Marcus Rashford is. Look how Bruno Fernandes met some fans this week. Come buy the new Casemiro shirt. Come buy the new Antony shirt. We gotta be genuinely ruthless with that as well. Adam says, how long do you think Ten Hag has to change it around? I think he's got longer, and I can see Chrissy saying by Christmas, I think it will be longer. And I think the reason it's going to be longer is Sir Jim Ratcliffe will want to come in and give Erik Ten Hag time under a structure. He will. That will happen. Ratcliffe is said to have faith in Ten Hag, according to pretty much everyone who we would deem any which way reliable. So I think Ten Hag will be given that time, but he's got to shape up and he's got to start making some big calls. That's what he's got to do as well. Big T says United plays fast attacking football, utilising wingers from 4 or 5 players and flooding the box, fighting for every inch of the pitch. That's the way I remember it. Yeah, that's how I remember it as well. I don't think there is a set way. Look, it's not like Ajax where It's 4-3-3. It's total football. It's pressing. It's passing football. It's not like Barcelona where you're expected to have 70% possession every match. It's not like at Man City where you're expected to dominate every match, or Liverpool where they expect to run teams to death. I mean, the United way has got to be attacking football, scoring goals. It's got to be about fighting. It's got to be about desire. And we're not going to be able to beat every team, but you have to show more as well. Big T says if we go out of the Cup and Champions League, it's over. Season's over well before Christmas. Jimbo says I'm never in doubt of Ten Hag. I don't think. Look, I think he's got big decisions to make. This is probably the closest I've been to losing my head with the guy, but I still think there's a good manager there. I don't think he's become a bad manager in 3 months. I think he knows what. I think he knows what he should be doing. I think he's trying to be pragmatic and try to save his job. I think he's being pragmatic to try salvage the season, but I think that's just not working out. And I think sometimes the pragmatic way might just be the wrong way this time around for him. So I think he's got big decisions. He absolutely has some big calls to make, and it's going to be an interesting couple of months, guys. Thanks very much for joining in with Group Therapy. I hope everybody feels a little more relaxed. We'll be back with the normal show, of course, tomorrow as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all in the next one.